Hello, beautiful people, and welcome. In this video, we are reviewing our solving equations. Now, we are focusing on one-step and two-step equations. In a different video, we will do multi-step equations. Let's jump in. So our objective when we are solving equations is to get the variable by itself. We are trying to evaluate, hey, what is this value for this x, this v, whatever letter you have. So in this case, I have an x. So step number one is to always draw a dotted line. Once I have a dotted line, I'm going to undo or remove what is attached to my variable. Now we want to do this with addition subtraction first, then we want to deal with multiplication division. So in this case, I have a -5, so I'm going to undo subtracting 5 by adding 5 to both sides. Now this is why we do a dotted line, so we can make sure to have a +5 on one side of the equals and a +5 on the other side of the equals. We undo these +5 and -5, so think about having 5 negatives and 5 positives. That equals 0. I'm going to bring down the x. Here I have 10 plus 5, which is 15. Now this is not your answer. You have to give me in the answer format as x equals 15. Let's do that one more time. Here is my variable. Now notice I did not take the plus with the x. The plus is attached to your 4. So we are doing a dotted line here. Once we have a dotted line, we are undoing this +4 by subtracting 4 both sides. +4 minus 4, that undoes each other. They undo each other. So therefore that is 0. And I have x left over. -13 minus 4, that is a -4, 5, 6, 17. Now, how did I do that? Imagine, here, let me do it. Actually, there's some space here. Having -13, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So there's 13 negatives, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4 negatives. So notice there are no zero pairs. There is no plus and minus that we can combine into nothing. Therefore, we just count this and count that with a total of 17 negatives. Now, again, that's not my final answer. We have to write that in an answer format, which is x is equal to -17. Moving on to another example. Now, this one here has -5v. Now, whenever you have a letter next to a number, that means there is a secret multiplication there. So I'm going to just rewrite this with a time symbol and having my dotted line here. Now, just like before, we want to get this v, we want to get the variable by itself. So when we are trying to get the variable by itself, we are undoing what it is attached to. So it is attached to a -5. How is it attached? Well, it is attached by multiplication. So instead of adding, subtracting, we are now going to divide by -5. And the reason I am dividing by -5 is because -5 and a -5, 5 divided by 5 is 1. Negative divided by negative is a positive. So therefore, I am left with 1v on this side. Now notice that I divided by -5 here, and I also divided by -5 here. You still have to do the same step to both sides. So make sure that if you are dividing by a number, you divide by that same number on the opposite side. 25 divided by 5 is 5. I have one negative, so I'm going to bring that down here. That means v is equal to -5 as my final answer. Let's do that one more time. I have 3 and v, -3. So -3 and v is equal to 7. In between that is a secret time symbol. Mathematicians are lazy, so you typically don't see that. So I'm going to do my dotted line. Just like before, we want to get this v by itself. So therefore, I'm going to take my -3. I'm going to divide by -3. I'm going to take my 7. I'm going to divide by -3. So the two negatives and the 3's right here, this one and this one, they have to match. They have to be the same things. Now, why am I choosing to divide by 3 instead of 7? Because we are trying to get v by itself. V is attached to 3. V has nothing to do with 7 right now. So make sure you work with the side where it has your variable, where it has your letter at. So once again, 3 divided by 3 is 1. Negative and a negative is a positive, and we're bringing down the v. And here we have 7 divided by -3. Now 7 divided by -3 is not a pretty number. We cannot simplify this fraction, so we're going to leave it as a fraction. 7, -3. Now I'm going to rewrite this as my final answer. 1v is simply v. And here I have a -7/3 as my fraction answer. Let's do some more. Now let's do two-step equations. Now these are going to take a few more steps, just one more step, to get to the answer. Okay, for example, number 5, when you see something like this, you have a number and you have a bubble. Now when you have a number and a bubble next to each other, it's kind of like when you have a number and a letter next to each other, there is a secret multiplication next to it. Now, this step only sometimes works, but the questions that we have been doing in class will always work like this. You zoom in here just slightly and see if this is better or worse. All right, so since we are multiplying, I'm going to divide by 3 both sides first because 3 divided by 3 is 1. And then I am left with v minus 4. That bubble of v minus 4 is staying. Now we want the bubble to stay because we have v in it, our variable. Now on the opposite side, 24 divided by 3, that is 8. Now I have one negative here, so we're going to bring down the negative. So right now I have v minus 4 is equal to -8. Now is that our answer? No, it is definitely not our answer because v is not alone. V is still attached to this -4. So I'm going to undo that -4, here's our dotted line, by adding 4 to both sides. So I have v left over on my left-hand side, -8, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 4 positives. I have 0 pairs, that goes away, that equals to 0. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 negatives left over. So that means v is equal to -4 as my final answer. Now, what if we don't have a bubble? What if we have something that looks like this in example number 6? 5v minus 4. So where is our variable? Our variable is here. So our variable is attached to two things. So it is attached to 5 by multiplication, and it is attached to this -4. Now, we want to get rid of the easy stuff first. So we want to, here's our v, we want to get rid of the addition subtraction first before dealing with any multiplication division. So here's our -4. We're going to add 4 to both sides. Make sure you are adding and subtracting first before multiplying and dividing. 4 plus 1 is 25. 4 plus 1 is 5, but 21 plus 4 is 25. Here is 5 times v. So we're going to divide by 5, divide by 5. V is then equal to a +5. Let's do 2 more. All right, so here we have 3 plus x divided by 2 is equal to -7. Now on this one here, it's like we have a secret bubble in the numerator. So in order for us to get into this bubble, we have to deal with this divided by 2. We have to take care of this first. So when that happens, here's our dotted line. We're going to rewrite it. So I have 3 plus x. I'm going to put that in a bubble, divided by 2. Here's my -7. And I'm going to take that, and for both sides, I'm going to times this by 2. The reason I'm timesing this by 2 is because I have a 2 in the denominator. So I'm going to undo that by putting a 2 in the numerator. So I have 2 divided by 2 now times 3 plus x, still in a bubble. And here I have -7 times 2. I'm going to shift this up. 2 divided by 2 is 1. So I have 3 plus x left over. And here I have a -17. Oh, did I say 17? I meant 14. It's a -14. Again, x is not by itself. It is attached to this 3. This 3 is a secret. I'm going to do a little secret plus here. It's a secret positive 3. So I'm going to subtract 3. Here's our dotted line. Bring down your x. X is then equal to negative 14 and negative 3. That means I have a negative 17. And let's do one more. Now this one we haven't really done lots of in class. We'll definitely spend more time when we do multi-step. But what this is a simple two-step equation. And yes, it is 2 steps. So here's our variable x. Notice that this x is a negative x. Don't worry, it's okay. So let's just solve it like we typically solve it. I'm going to subtract 4 both sides. 7 minus 4 is 3. I'm going to bring down my negative x. Now, if we were to solve this right now, we have negative x is equal to 3, right? But this is not your answer. We don't want a negative x. We want a positive x. So what you get to do, you guys, is you get to just flip it. So you get to take it and imagine there's a 1 here. You get to divide by negative 1 both sides. When that happens, you just flip the sign. So for example, if you have a negative x is equal to 3, your negative becomes a positive, and your symbol here, whatever the symbol is, in this case it's a positive, now becomes a negative. So that means, I'm going to shift this up just slightly one more time, x is equal to negative 3. Now the reason this works is because we get to divide by negative 1. That goes away. The x stays. And then we get to divide 3 by negative 1. All right, beautiful people, that is it for your review. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.